money, Lebowski. You want that money, Lebowski? Bunny says you're good for it. Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the money, Lebowski? Where's the fucking money, shithead?
It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look.
Don't fuck with us.
Your wife owes money to Jackie Treehorn. That means you owe money to Jackie Treehorn.
Ever thus the deadbeats, Lebowski.
No, don't do this. Not on the rug, man.
See what happens, Lebowski? You see what happens?
Nobody calls me Lebowski. You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
Your name's Lebowski, Lebowski. Your wife is Bunny.
My wife, Bunny? Do you see a wedding ring on my finger? Does this place look like I'm fucking married? The toilet seat's up, man.
Woo?
Yeah.
Isn't this guy supposed to be a millionaire?
Fuck.
Yeah, what do you think?
He looks like a fucking loser.
Hey, at least I'm housebroken.
Fucking time waster. Thanks a lot, asshole.
Hey, I'm Kyle. Thanks for joining me and Andy for the Legendary Creature Podcast. So, if you're listening with your kids or your conservative grandma, maybe don't, because we swear.
Or you can check us out on YouTube, because hey, that's no place for conservative old women or children.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to stay on theme with this whole holiday stuff that, I don't know if you were expecting a trend on that, Kyle, but this is not
I'm
going to be
expecting a Gruel deck this week.
Get ahead of our guild colors and get the Christmas color typing in there. Yeah, I kind of been collaborating with AP a little bit with what to do about his Circu Dimir Lobotomist deck that you see on that gameplay video.
Yeah.
So I think he attacked it from the angle of he wanted to make a budget list. That's kind of been where we've headed. And I want to say, like, we're not focused on budget to kind of ride the hype train a little. Budgets are pretty hot right now.
Yeah, they kind of are pretty hot right now.
In the Commander-verse.
I think for us, our motivation isn't so much budget as much as it is game experience.
Right.
And budget's the way to produce a different experience.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about it in our EDH arms race episode. We've kind of had not a problem, but a blandness to our play group because we're seeing piles of staples in decks. Like every blue deck has a Cyclonic Rift, and it's only a matter of time before the player either finds it or tutors it or draws it or whatever.
Yeah. To the point that cards like Rhystic Study we've named after different people that play in our
Yeah, like there's this guy that we used to play a lot with, but we still call it this. We call it Cody Study because he's got Rhystic Study turn 3 almost every goddamn game. I swear to God. So yeah, we decided, well, what's a way to alleviate that was go from an angle of a budget, try to make it impossible to include a lot of these staples because we've said, all right, they can't be over $5 and the whole deck can't even be worth more than $75.
And it's forced us to find different solutions for the same problems, right?
So yeah, and we've kind of mentioned a couple times, like me and you, we looked at that as an opportunity to play commanders that we normally wouldn't invest in.
Yeah.
Because of their power level. So like for me, it was Tetsuko, and for you, it was
did Halar.
Halar, yeah, like Halar and stuff like that. And other people in our group have just said, oh, well, this is a commander I'd like to do a budget version of something that would have been expensive. So I think the one that kind of sticks out is Muldrotha.
Yeah, we've seen
works
Muldrotha
very well in a budget environment because it's just a busted ass commander.
Yeah.
So we've kind of seen
There's different takes on it.
Yeah, it's definitely got a different timbre to it. It's definitely got a different spice melange to it, right? Anyway, So talking back about AP's deck. So yeah, on the gameplay video, you can kind of see him doing his Circu Dimir Lobotomist plays. The idea around the deck is to control what is flowing into people's hands via top deck management. I don't want to say manipulation. It's more like he's managing it.
Well, yeah. So the principle being that rather than me having to counter spells, I have everybody's top of their library revealed.
Yeah.
And I can mill them away or exile them away depending on whether or not I want that in somebody's hand.
Yeah. So to kind of bring some context out, Circu Dimir Lobotomist. He is 2 a blue and a black for a human wizard. Whenever you play a blue spell, you remove the top card of your library from the game. Whenever you play a black spell, remove the top card of target library from the game. And then it says your opponents can't play non-land cards with the same name as a card removed from the game with Circu Dimir Lobotomist, right? I think he's like a 2/2, but he's a 2/3. The idea is he built a control shell around it that is popular in, is it Legacy, I think? It's called Lantern Control.
Yeah, Lantern.
So the Legacy version of this strategy, if I understand it right, and again, say one thing for the Legendary Creature podcast, say they only really focus on Commander when it comes to Magic.
Yeah, don't take advice from me when it comes to drafting.
Yeah, or fucking anything. Probably should stop listening to our Commander advice too. So the strategy I believe is to set up an array of very low cost artifacts like Lantern of Insight, hence the namesake Lantern Control.
Yes.
The Prixis Pandemonium, which allows you to tap it and exile the top cards of every library. The Ghoul Caller's Bell, which is also 1 mana, which allows you to tap it and they just mill the card. And I think the Codex Shredder, I don't know, but really what you're looking for is to get those into play and then resolve an Ensnaring Bridge. So an Ensnaring Bridge is a card that says that players can't or creatures can't attack if their power is greater than the number of cards that you have in your hand. So you're kind of like keeping cards out of your own hand and making it impossible for your opponent to attack you, and you're just grinding this game to a halt. And when you see something that could break your Ensnaring Bridge revealed from the top of their library, you
can cast a blue or black spell and use your commander to exile it. Or...
Well, sorry, I'm still talking about the Legacy version of the deck. So the Legacy version will either force them to shuffle or do the Ghoul Caller's Bell or do the Prixis Pandemonium thing. Like it just won't allow it to enter their hand.
Yeah.
So I guess in paper, it kind of makes sense that you can do this because it says all libraries on some of these, like the Prixis Pandemonium and the whatever.
Yeah, you might drop the Codex Shredder maybe, but probably still use it.
Right. It's an ambitious strategy to try to bring into Commander is what I'm saying. And now that we were looking at it and we've experienced it, it seems like it's next to impossible for budget because of the need for something like Ensnaring Bridge.
Right.
A lot of those effects are actually kind of out of our budget restrictions for our budget league. Again, saying that $5 is the ceiling for an individual card and $75 is the ceiling for the deck overall. Ensnaring Bridge is like what? It's not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's
worth mentioning that a lot of those cards that are kind of your setup pieces,
they're nothing. Yeah,
they're like a quarter. But,
yeah, they're nothing.
Sorry, I'm trying to pull up these.
Yeah, they're okay, but the thing that's protecting the player, the guy that's using the control shell.
Yeah, so the Masters 25 version of Ensnaring Bridge is $37.
Which is probably the cheapest.
Yeah, currently.
Yeah, and then you've got, I don't know, like let's say even you were trying to find budget alternatives for this, like a really shitty budget alternative would be the Crawl Space.
Yeah.
And that's still not going to cut
it.
In our budget realm. I think it's over $5.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, he kind of found that he was discouraged, man. He wasn't, he thought I had a good idea, and he's a little bit of a pathfinder a little bit, like he'll go off and do stuff that I think a lot of us aren't ready to do.
Sure.
I think me and you have become more into trying nuttier things because of the podcast. We're just like, fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, we got to talk about something.
Like your Christmas group hug thing, or your, what did you call it? Your teen angsty suicide deck, like, this is things that we're willing to try.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've been, this is a pretty bad setup, but I'm just trying to provide context as to why we're talking about this. We've been collaborating, and he was like, man, I don't know, man. I just don't like Circu. I think my problem is Circu. I like the idea about doing lantern control, but I don't know if Circu's my guy. And we were talking about, well, what commanders care about the top of somebody's library?
Right.
And I mean, I can't help myself, dude. I'm going to start talking about goblins and the color red any time.
You're like, so what if,
Yeah, short of you.
there was no blue and there was no black, but there was red?
Yeah, so yeah, what if it's not a wizard? Okay. And it's not Dimir, all right. And it's red and it's a goblin, dude. What if? Sort of like you talking to me about an angel deck, I'm going to start steering you towards making a goblin something. I'm going to do it. And once you bring up
just waiting
angels,
for that angel goblin to come out
oh,
someday.
I will, dude. Yeah, that's closer to my angel, closer to.
Would it be an angel goblin or a goblin angel?
It'd be a goblin angel. Goblin first, angel second. Anyway, so what we landed on was, well, what if we try to use Grenzo?
Okay.
Right? Not Grenzo, the famous Grenzo, the less famous version of him. Grenzo Havoc Razor. So this guy's been itching my brain since they spoiled him, because he's got so much fun language on him.
Ain't that the truth?
So Grenzo Havoc Razor is only 2 mana. He's a red and a red for a legendary creature, Goblin Rogue. He says, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, choose one. So the first choice is you can goad target creature that player controls. So as a reminder, goad means that the creature must attack if able, but it can't attack you. So you're kind of forcing it into the red zone, but it's got to go against one of your opponents. The second option is exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast it. He's a 2/2. So he's a little different than cards like Gaunty. Gaunty kind of like builds a stash for you where you can revisit that later.
Oh, yeah.
And cast it when you feel like you either have the mana or where it's relevant to the play of the game, or like
That's a little more of a
it's just
black
different.
thing.
It doesn't. Yeah, that's true too. Like the Kudu Mind Eater does that.
Yeah.
You're not getting the limitations with over there where you got to do it by end of turn.
Yeah.
So Grenzo basically says, you can cast this spell if you reveal it out of X, or if they exile it and reveal it, you can cast a spell until end of turn and use any type of mana to get it. The other effect is that you can just leave it in exile. It doesn't say return it to the graveyard. It doesn't say it goes into their hand. Like the card is dealt with. Yeah. And I think that's where the lantern control aspect comes in.
So it has it does have that sort of overlap of what Circu is doing, in that you can get things into exile with your commander. Yeah.
And that's what he was looking to do anyway.
Right.
But this time you at least have like, oh, it's a soul ring. I can nab that. And there was that other part about Circu is that unless it was staple heavy, like you have a very staple heavy meta, you're not going to see a lot of overlap. Like he says that opponents aren't allowed to play spells exiled by Circu with the same name. So unless you're nabbing somebody's soul ring, which we don't use soul ring in our budget meta, like the deck had just so many things working against it in our little budget
in a budget
corner.
League.
Yeah, like a lot of people were looking to do different cards. They weren't looking to cast staple effects. So when you grab someone's Cyclonic Rift with Circu in a regular game, well, rest assured you'll never see it.
Yeah.
They can't cast it. Even your other opponent.
Yeah.
But
good for you for getting
but where
it,
you're
but you
playing
can't
it,
cast it.
where you're playing it under the organization of, well, we don't want a lot of staple effects. We're going out of our way to try new niche-y things. It's just going to be less effective. And and when you can't rely on the effect of your commander reliably,
you're going to have a potentially bad time.
You're potentially going to have a bad time. So we landed on Grenzo and we started working this list. So if you were going to say, hey, this sounds cool, I want to go do it, you don't actually really find lantern control under the umbrella of Grenzo a lot of the time. Some people have that in their mind, but I think the problem is that it's hard to put these pieces together reliably without blue and without black, without tutors, really.
Sure.
Gamble's about your only option when it comes to mono red. So you can loot fast, I guess, is your idea, but it's kind of going to be hard to get the Lantern of Insight out. So sorry, to lend some information. The Lantern of Insight just says it's a 1-mana artifact that says each player plays with the top card of his or her library revealed. You can tap it and sacrifice a lantern and target player shuffles his or her library. So this is key to knowing who's got what on top of their library because everyone's playing it with it revealed.
Yeah, and it also is something that in particular is something that shows up on blue cards as well. So you're kind of removing some of the possibilities.
So Grenzo is interested because you must send your creatures into the red zone to get access to their library. So what if now you kind of know, well, there's nothing over there. They got to land. I don't want to go over there and get that.
Yeah.
I want to go grab something of interest, like a ramp spell or removal or whatever, whatever you're in the mood to take. Anyway, so we were working on this list and we kind of came up with 2 routes you could take. And as we were working it down, there was one that I feel like I was more attracted to and one that he was more attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to go over what I landed on. Cause honestly, one day he texted me, said, fuck it, dude, I'm ordering your list. We're just going to do it. He's like, I'm going to pilot it. We'll, say one thing for AP, say he's down to fuck for real. All right. So yeah, I'm going to go over the different categories of what we're looking for in the deck and just kind of describe what we've come up with. So right off the top, if we're just focusing on Grenzo's effect, I think there's 2 plans of attack you can kind of go after. One is to get a lot of these triggers on the stack. So that means tokens, that means going wide, and that means goblins. And
go figure.
Spoiler alert, that isn't actually the direction I decided to take this bad boy. Don't tell anybody that's how it's going. But
yeah, I mean, the goblins are going to be offended, Andy.
Yeah. Goblins are offensive. So, the reason I didn't the reason I wanted to be more circumspect with this strategy, I guess, was I feel like when you go really wide, it calls out board wipes. Like people are scrambling to do that. I mean, it's just the sheer damage and the sheer optics of it.
Mm-hmm.
When your playmat's just covered in red and green goblins, like it just, the optics of it make people nervous, even if they're paying attention to the combats or the total damage output. Like it's just, you know what I mean? Like you're bringing it out. And I didn't want that to happen because I wasn't sure about being able to recover from it. Like having Cranko in your command zone, it affords you a level of
or invites rather.
Yeah, sure. I mean, people are going to plan on it, but it affords you a level of like reprisal. Like if somebody bounces all of your stuff, or if somebody burns off all your stuff, or somebody wraths the board, like you can bring it back pretty quick.
Oh yeah, that's
you only need a couple goblins and have him have haste, and you're good to go.
Let's do it.
But with Grenzo in your command zone, it's a little bit. I mean, you don't really have that unless you find Cranko or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you go the token route, I feel like it's going to evolve into a goblin strategy, which
just like,
I 100% support that. It's just not.
I should just put Grenzo at the helm of this thing.
Yeah, it's just not the direction I wanted to go. So what we ended up doing we kind of landed on cards that have the potential to give you more reliability for those triggers.
Yeah.
Like, let's say they have a very big creature that I want to go away from me.
Okay.
And I'm in some kind of political back and forth with somebody, right? We're engaging in player destruction against each other.
Okay.
I want to be able to get through reliably. With tokens, it's like, yeah, you got to have a lot of them to get around other, I want to make sure it's going the other direction. And then, yeah, another thing is that let's say we have some kind of like level parity. Like let's say you and I both control the same amount of creatures. Like you're playing Reese the Redeemed or some other token deck. I'll be honest, it's not hard for red to get more numbers than these colors, but without Cranko in the command zone.
Like you need that initial through in order for that goad to start working for you, right?
Yeah. So I was like, if I'm going to send somebody over here, I want to get these combat triggers as often as I can get. So I was thinking more on the lines of, well, okay, let's bring more evasive creatures. And yeah, there's cons to that because evasion in red isn't exactly real evasion. I feel like it's evasive enough, but you're not getting things like it's straight unblockable. You're not getting things like, oh, it's got, flying a lot of the time. Like it does.
Is very minimal.
Yeah, it has
dragons.
It has some, but yeah, they're behind kind of larger CMC walls that I want to spend that mana on pilfering people's libraries.
Yeah.
I don't want to be spending that mana on getting people into play. So I'm going to go over my list of evasive bastards to kind of
As
show you
opposed to the inglorious bastards.
kind of show
They're
you
the evasive bastards.
the evasive bastards, the evasive gentleman bastards, as I'm calling it. So the first one is the Academy Raider. So he's a 2 and a red for a 1/1 intimidate. So he's got intimidate. Short of them controlling an artifact or another red creature, he ain't getting blocked. He also has, when he deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So there's that. The next one down is the Deputized Protester. So he actually came from the same set. He's 2 and a red.
He's really mad at the 1%.
He really is, dude. You know, this guy was there on what is it? The Wall Street takeover. What do they call it again? Walk on Wall Street or whatever the hell, where they were just like camping out for days on end. Fuck, it's so culturally irrelevant now.
You mean Occupy.
Yeah, there we go. That's the word I'm looking for. This dude was there day 1 and day 50 or however long it lasted. So Deputized Protester was a 2 and a red. He's got Menace, so for a 2/1, and then has Melee. Whenever this creature attacks, it gets a +1 until end of turn for each opponent you attacked with another creature this combat. So that I feel is more likely. Like, you've got multiple evasive creatures, just send them in different directions.
Oh, yeah.
You're really not interested in having big, swingy, powerful hits. You're interested in getting these triggers reliably and trying to, you know, like, stay low to the ground where people aren't really looking to board wipe you, or, you know, like, you really are not trying to get the attention here.
There's part of me that's starting to feel
which
like
is really unread.
This is your Tetsuko dream that put on a red coat.
Oh, shit.
Okay, keep going.
Fire Shrine Keeper, it's literally 1 red for a 1/1 with Menace. It has, you can pay 8 and sacrifice Fire Shrine Keeper and deal 3 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. So that's a draft card if there ever was one. But hey, like, it's 1 mana to get something that's harder for them to block. The Flame Blade Adept, same thing. It's now a 1/2 with Menace, and you can cycle and discard a card, and it'll get a +1/+0 till end of turn.
Oh, nice.
It's a legendary Jackal Warrior. So kind of like going down the list, there's the Insolent Neonate, which is the same thing. It's got Menace. The Ire Shaman, which is pretty dope, actually, because it says it's a 1 in a red, and it says it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So it has Menace before they actually called it Menace. But it's got Megamorph. I don't know if you'd be looking to do that, like wasting the mana. But it says when Ire Shaman is first turned face up, exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. So it's got an impulsive draw effect.
Okay.
Which, you know, I'm valuing more and more, and it's fun to play. At first I thought, this makes me nervous. I don't like exiling cards and only having a turn to play them. But you know, you're doing that with your opponent. Like, I just decided, like, I'm just going to I'm going to embrace it on both sides.
Do you trust your deck?
So this deck has a lot of impulsive draw. Like, whatever, it's gone. You didn't cast it that turn, whatever, you know.
It wasn't what you needed at that time anyways. Then.
Yeah, you kind of have to have that attitude when you're playing red.
I was going to say, that's playing red.
Yeah, it's just get into your deck and everyone else. Kari Zev is amazing for this deck. She's 1 in a red. She has First Strike and Menace. But whenever Kari Zev attacks, she attacks with a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking, and then he gets exiled at the end of combat. So you can send him one direction, and I don't know. I don't know if they need to go to the same opponent, actually, because it says when she attacks. So you've already declared who you're attacking. So yeah, whatever. Anyway, you get 2 triggers. And plus, she's evasive. Like, they either have to deal with the 2/1 or the 1/3.
Yeah.
So not a lot of damage.
I never thought I'd see a space where that was like super valuable, but here it is.
Well, yeah, if your objective is to be, you know, sneaky and get in. The Kenra Scrapper, it's a 2 in a red for a 2/3 menace. So you're kind of seeing the idea here, right? These are cards that I value. The Rampaging Ferocidon, the Terror of Standard, that's now only 75 cents. It's 2 in a red menace. Players can't gain life. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, Rampaging Ferocidon deals 1 damage to that creature's controller. It's a 3/3 menace for 3. Sin Prodder.
Plus, it holds back all those people that are going wide on you, that are going wider than you with the tokens.
Yeah, they're gonna get hurt a little bit. Which, yeah, if they start producing tokens, like, it's gonna be a problem, because then menace isn't something that's difficult for them.
The Rampaging Ferocidon gets you the benefit anyway. Cool.
Yeah. All right, there's also some evasion enablers. So let's say, like, our menace is kind of falling behind because of the creature count. I don't know. It might be hard. Menace makes sense for Grenzo, because if you goad these creatures, they're tapped the next time you come around.
Yes.
Like, it's going to it's going to be more and more difficult for them to keep up enough blockers to deal with your guys. And a lot of these creatures, again, like especially in the earlier stages of the game, like they don't really want to be sent into combat.
Oh no.
Like for me, a lot of the time, like I might have a commander that I never send into combat. Like they're just there to get that effect, like Mersil or something.
Yeah.
Like I really don't want him having to attack. And yeah, all right, like that deck gets a lot of abilities loaded into it that make him tapped, so I don't end up having to.
Sure.
But still, you're forcing me to either activate an ability I'm not really wanting to, because I would like to do it at instant speed. I mean, let's be honest.
Sure.
A lot of the time. Or yeah, you're forcing him into the red zone where I really don't want him, especially if green players
the
are.
other aspect of the control that comes with that is people delaying casting things as a result because they don't want to have it out being forced into attacking.
Yeah, because they're kind of seeing the writing on the wall. Like he's going to come over here with his fucking dickheads and force them into attacking. So yeah, but anyway, when that starts falling behind, we kind of have to start giving. They're not the only ones. I'm just talking about these first, but we've got some other evasion enablers. So the one that kind of will float to the top every time you look into doing this version of Grenzo is a card called Break Through the Line. It's an enchantment. So Break Through the Line is 1 in a red. It says you can pay 1 red, and it says target creature with power 2 or less gains haste until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn.
Oh, nice.
So that's amazing for him because
he's getting through.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really need to get him out. He's going to attack on turn 3 anyway. Yeah. So you could resolve this. Well, I guess this would be turn 4 because it's an activation, but you get what I mean. Like,
sure.
You can make it so, let's say they developed blockers earlier than you had anticipated. You can make him get in by himself or some other guy in.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's a haste enabler. The Pyreheart Wolf is really great. It's basically a 1/1 with Undying that just grants all of your creatures menace. So the ones that don't have it, get it. Goblin War Drums gives all of your creatures menace. Mm-hmm. There's some other ones that are less obvious in their ability to grant evasion. One is the Frenzied Goblin. So when he attacks, you can pay 1 red and the target creature just can't block this turn. So if they've got 2 creatures and you're attacking with menace, you would now just you make it so they are unable to block.
Okay.
Or if they only have 1. I mean, either way, it works in your favor, or one you really just don't want blocking because it's too big or something. And then there's 2 other enchantments that they don't necessarily grant evasion. They kind of make blocking less attractive. So there's one that's called Heat Stroke, which works very well with menace. So it says 2 in a red. At the end of each combat, destroy all creatures that blocked or were blocked this turn. Oh. So if they were going to choose to block one of your evasive 2/1s,
there could be a really bad trade coming their way.
Yeah, like I not only are these creatures like they're just not with this out. Like, is it really worth it? Like, are you really worried about what I'm going to do?
Maybe unless if they know what's on top of your life, if they know what's on top of their life. Right?
Yeah, if they know, So that kind of I'll talk about that in a minute. But if they know what's on top of their library and they really don't want you accessing it, then maybe they have to make that judgment call. Are you going to let go of 2 creatures so I have a 2/1 against something that was only going to do 2 damage?
Right.
Or are you just going to let it through? Oh, and then I fucking goad it anyway into the red zone. You know what I mean? So yeah, whatever. There's that one. And then there's one that's called Invasion Plans.
Invasion.
So this one's a little bit of a havoc raiser. It's a havoc raiser. So it's 2 in a red. Each creature blocks whenever able.
Oh.
But it says attacking player chooses how each creature blocks. So all blocking assignments still must be legal. So let's say you have a 1/1 token and they have whatever. You can say, I want all of them double, triple, quadruple blocking this one token because you can assign how the blocks are done.
That's really bizarre.
So it's like evasion because you can really choose and so that kind of leads this kind of a good segue into the tokens that we are putting in it. So a lot of the time if you look into Grenzo lists, you'll see things like the Beetleback Chief or the Siege Gang Commander or things like that. I didn't go with those because they're only kind of happening once. I don't have any bounce effects. I don't have any way to get the ETBs recurred. I just don't have that. So what I wanted was either they make a token at my upkeep or they make a token or a few when they attack, something that I'm reliably doing every turn. Okay. So I'm able to kind of just keep going. I don't know. I mean, maybe in testing, that one time I resolved the Siege Gang Commander it gave me the equivalent tokens that these other guys gave me.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got cards like Goblin Assault. So
Okay.
So at the beginning of your upkeep, you basically put. So it's a 3-mana enchant. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token with haste. It does have this, I guess, downside, but we're fucking playing red with goblins. I don't know how that can be a downside if we've done this right. But it says goblin creatures attack each turn if able. So I get a token every turn. I throw it at you. I've got invasion plans out. All of your creatures are going to eat this token. That's who they're going after. And then my other bastards get in.
Then everything else you want to keep is going.
Yeah. The Hanwig or the Legion War Boss and the Goblin Rabble Master. So these are similar. The Goblin Rabble Master has pretty much the same effect as the Goblin Assault, except for when it attacks, it gets a +1/+1 for every attacking goblin. But it kind of has the same effect. But it doesn't have to attack. Other goblins have to attack each turn if able. And then the Legion War Boss is kind of a newer one. It has Mentor, dude, I think.
Oh, I don't.
Oh, it's your
think so.
favorite ability. Yeah. So it's 2 in a red for a creature Goblin Soldier. Yeah, Mentor. Whenever this creature attacks, put up a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power.
Yeah.
So really, it comes in with the 2/2.
In this case, it's probably going to come in handy.
It says at the beginning, the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 1/1 red Goblin creature token. That token gains haste until end of turn and attacks this combat if able. So he doesn't need to attack to bring that token in.
Yeah, it's a beginning of combat.
Beginning of combat, he
This
gets
happens.
one. The Loyal Apprentice, same story. But this one gives you a Thopter, so it's 1 in a red for a haste 2/1. But it says Lieutenant at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. That token gains haste until end of turn. So you can send a Thopter in to get that trigger again. So
All right.
pilfer their library, go to creature. So you kind of see what I'm going for with the tokens. Like if they're coming from that, then I don't know. It was this kind of effect I was kind of prioritizing.
Yeah.
But I'm always getting one, not.
That makes a lot of sense to me, and particularly in this context of some of the effects you have that are going to make it so those tokens pull some attention.
Yeah, and I could be wrong. I mean, I maybe you could get as many. I don't know. AP is going to pilot this thing.
And we'll see.
We'll see. He's going to bring it this weekend. We're going to record it, so he's going to just look at it and go, "Yeah, we need more tokens." or maybe he's like, "No, this is working the way I wanted it to." Or I don't know. Who knows? Next category is other bastards. So there's some that I don't know. I valued their combat trigger. I valued them being in the deck so much that I just wanted them in.
Mm-hmm.
Either because, I forgot, Krenko is in it. Sorry, he's the other.
Yeah, because
you'd just be foolish.
Krenko and your commander alone gets you.
Yeah, you'll get it. Yeah,
2 more.
I wasn't gonna ignore going wide. I wasn't just gonna solely focus on it.
Right,
But yeah, he's in it. The first one's the Hound of Gristlebrand. It's 2 a red and a red for a double strike 2/2 with Undying. So if it dies, it becomes a 3/3 double strike.
You had a few coming from that Avacyn Returns.
Yeah, there's another one that's like the Markov Blade Master. You could do that one too.
Oh, yeah,
She's out a turn sooner, so she might actually be better than him. I just like this one because he was a little stickier with the Undying.
Yeah.
But you get 2 triggers off this, so you can exile and goad, or exile and or goad. The other one was the Prophetic Flame Speaker. So he's kind of the same idea. He's double strike trample. It says whenever Prophetic Flame Speaker deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play it this turn. So it's more of that desperate draw. So you're exposing 2 cards from them, 2 cards from you.
Yeah, from yourself.
Yeah, you can, and then hurry up and play it if because honestly, like the way this is going to go, this is a post-combat main phase deck for sure. You're not really going to be doing the first main phase.
You don't set up before combat at all.
Yeah, unless you are developing more bastards. Like,
sure.
I keep calling them I'm going to keep going with that. I'm keep calling them bastards. But yeah, if you're developing more bastards, then yeah. So the next one is the Oblivion Sower. So he's fairly signature to Grenzo because of his effect. So he's 6 mana, so really kind of higher off the curve that I've been trying to establish. It says when you cast Oblivion Sower, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his or her library. Then you may put any number of lands that player owns from exile into the battlefield under your control. So if you've been working on, I don't know, like that Azusa deck, but somebody who they just have a really high land density, or maybe you've just gotten unlucky, they're coming in.
Yeah.
So you're going to get not only the 4 new, but or potentially lands out of the 4 new, but whatever Grenzo Grenzo and his bastard triggers have been.
That's pretty dope.
And then acquire them because you're going to want that mana to cast their shit. The other one that I feel like is just another he's another signature to Grenzo is Neheb the Eternal. So this affords you a lot of mana to get access to their stuff. So you're able to kind of earn 2 or 3, 4, 5 extra mana. These last 3, I think, or these last 2, the Oblivion Sower and Neheb the Eternal, they lend themselves very well to the going wide side of Grenzo's thing because of how many.
Yeah, because you're going to have a lot of triggers from going wide.
Yeah, a lot of triggers, a lot of damage.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Other than that, like the deck's kind of just, it floats around some other things that just cause more problems for your opponents. Like asymmetrical board wipes and Mizium mortars. Like even if it doesn't kill everything, it's going to peel enough. And these are the type of things you don't want blocking you anyway.
Sure.
And they're the kind of things that you probably do want them remaining in play because you can goad them and have that degree of damage going somewhere else. Disrupt Decorum. It's 2 a red and a red. Goad all creatures you control or you don't control. So it removes all blockers. Like you can spend a turn by saying, all right, I'm goading everything. And then when you come back around to your turn, everything should be tapped if it wasn't vigilant.
Yeah.
And everything in between, right? Bedlam, this one is very good for you. It just says creatures can't block.
Let's just go.
You're not going to block with this deck. If they get pushed into a block, like you're not going to.
Yeah, you're on the back foot.
Yeah, you're on the back foot. So it's 2 a red and a red. Creatures can't block. It's an enchantment. And that's really good for you because when you attack, you aren't met with blockers. And when you goad, that creature is going to attack your opponent with no blockers.
Yeah.
So
thanks for bringing the game closer to a close for me, everybody.
Yeah, Berserker's Onslaught, it's 3 a red and a red. Attacking creatures you control have double strike. So this is just pushing, your triggers up where you can spread them around either whatever. Either from the tokens or from the lower ended effects because again, like we've decided to not go with a going wide strategy, so we probably want to get some more mileage out of our evasive guys, right?
Yeah,
it's kind of the thought there. It's kind of expensive. I mean, it's 5 mana. It might be a greedier play, but I don't know. I feel like giving all your creatures double strike. I mean, worth it.
Exactly. Like getting both the triggers you want. You're
gonna need it. I added the stolen strategy because I just kind of wanted to try it. So it's 4 and a red. It says the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of each opponent's library. Until the end of the turn, you may cast non-land cards from among those exiled. And you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast these spells. So I think it's just another way to you're just getting the cards out in the open.
I don't know
and you can decide, you have until the end of the turn to decide whether you're going to do it or not.
Yeah.
But either way, they're gone. They're exiled. It's not at the end of the turn.
It makes more sense here. I've had that card in my Vivictus deck for a little while.
I know. And that's why
I just can't make it work for me.
See,
but my deck's not as well suited as this Grenzo.
Yeah,
one is.
This is kind of focusing on doing that. This card could go. It's kind of like
I think it's a better fit.
I don't think it's a win more card. How I kind of try to avoid win more strategies. I think this is just, the card's out of the way. It's.
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's out of the way. And you don't have to cast it.
No.
Let's say you get them and there's all the ones you like. There's a couple that you really like. You do have to kind of manage your level of greed with this thing. I think it's going to be hard.
Oh yeah.
But
I think
eventually you're going to be leaning on goading, I think.
Yeah. The other thing to me about this a card like that is that it's always going to be more beneficial. Not always, but most of the time it's more beneficial to cast your own spells than it is to cast other players' spells, right?
Yeah, we've said that. And it's still true. But
I mean, it's a fun thing to explore and try and do. I'm just saying, I don't know that for whatever reason that card triggered me. I'm just like,
yeah. I think every time you run into something that's universally beneficial, like a ramp spell, you're gonna want to take it because you're gonna use that mana later to cast bigger stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
If you find combo pieces, just leave them in exile.
Leave them in exile.
Yeah, leave them in exile. If you find somebody's Paradox Engine.
And don't put it in their yard. And
you don't have
a chance.
You don't have a lot of mana, mana rocks developed. maybe you want to just leave it in exile. If you have a ton, because I had to include a lot in the list. Because I actually gave this thing a pretty robust mana bump comparative to normal red decks, even though its curve is way low. Like to give you an idea, like if I go to my little app thing, over 20 cards in the entire deck are 3 mana.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, like 20 of the cards are just right after he's out. This is coming out.
Yeah.
Like he's out, it's out. He's out, it's out. Like so, and a lot of that's the ramp. I mean, that's,
because a lot of the rocks are going to sit in that range.
Yeah, that's not the whole story. Because I've kind of, the mana rocks I put in here, a lot of them are like 2 mana. But more problems. So that one kind of presents a problem. I put the Chaos Wand in here. It's a newer card. I think this one's kind of multifunctional because it gives you reach into stuff that you normally wouldn't have. Let's say there's nothing that you find and you want to just spend it all on goading. You can still kind of just cast this at the end of your turn or before your turn begins, or activate it at the end of your turn or before the turn begins. So it's 3 mana. It's an artifact. It says 4 tap. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of his or her library until they exile an instant or a sorcery card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Then the exiled cards that weren't cast this way are at the bottom, or get put at their bottom of their library to random order. So if anything, if you've got the Lantern of Insight out and you're seeing something that you don't really want, but you know this is the guy you need to be focusing on or whatever. Yeah, I mean, just dump 4 mana to cast any one of their instants or sorceries. Pass on the board wipe though if you run into that, because it doesn't say you must. You can just find it in May, and now it's gone. Exactly. So you've kind of gotten.
You're like, gee, that's cool. It's gone.
Yeah, now there's one less board wipe you have to worry about, because honestly, this deck is leveraging its creature position.
Of all the decks at the table, this one's probably one of them that needs the creatures the most.
Yeah, so I've got some other things like the Scythe Claw.
Okay.
So with all of this going on, like you might want to change the Scythe Claw to the Quietus Spike. But with all these things going on, it might be a good idea to kind of take advantage of our evasion.
May as well.
A little bit.
May as well.
To kind of reduce the life totals and put them within a better range. I did put Itali in here. He's not evasive. He's a big clunky dinosaur that's a 6/6 for 6. But his ability happens the second you attack.
And it works well.
It just works well. And then there's so much other stuff giving creatures evasion. Like your creatures have menace. Your creatures can't block. Like if they do block, they get destroyed. Like there's all these other effects that he can lean on.
Is going to be in place to where
these things might be
sideways.
sideways.
Is going to get through, unless somebody spot removes it or board wipes. Itali is going to be able to get through safely most of the time.
So on the topic of board wipes,
okay,
this is really where I wish we had like Boros Charm and
because this deck will get
Selfless
undone
Spirit.
by those things.
Yeah, there's not a lot of replacements on the way. Like if your bastards get killed, it's going to be a while before replacements come down, because there's only 26 cards in the deck for creatures. Oh, and for a creature centric strategy, I feel like
that's kind of low to the ground.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of saying, I'm calling it how it is. Like I'm under the hood and I'm saying like this thing probably needs more creatures. If there's more, I don't know. I just wanted to have other effects that made it more and more difficult to deal with these 26 creatures than, because I only really want like 2 or 3 out, and I'm really looking to get my card advantage or card draw or card whatever from either his pilfering effect or the fact that these creatures just can't attack me because they're constantly sideways and attacking my opponents. Yeah. But there's 2 cards in here I just kind of want to note as far as an attempt to save our board position. The first one is Warping Whale. So it's 1 and it must be a diamond, so it's a colorless. It has it's an instant spell that says choose 1, exile target creature with power or toughness of 1 or less. That might be relevant, I don't know. But the one that matters, the reason why it's in this deck is that you can counter target sorcery spell. Oh. So a lot of Rakdos players and mono red players are kind of leaning on this card a little more, I've noticed, because they just don't have the way to. The sorcery you're going to be countering is a board wipe. You're going to be countering the Black Sun Zenith. You're going to be countering the Decree of Pain. You're going to be countering those spells. Yeah. Pretty much short of a instant speed and or supreme verdict. Like a merciless eviction, like that's no good. Let's just counter that. And they're just not going to see it coming.
Exactly.
They're not going to see your soul ring up and think he's got a counter spell that he can light with this soul ring.
There's no way.
Right. And then the other one is called Null Brooch. So it's, half my New Year's resolutions list of cards I wanted to try.
I remember this one.
So the Null Brooch says you must, it's a, I don't know, man. I think it's worth it in the end because considering what you're doing with this deck. So it's 4 mana for an artifact. It has 2 tap, discard your hand, counter target non-creature spell, play this ability as an interrupt.
So again, we're countering a sorcery that would wipe the board.
Or this could actually drop a Cyclonic Rift. Like, you know, a lot of the time, like the type of card draw that we have in this deck is impulse draw. We don't have, you know, filtering.
Yeah, you're not going to have a large hand
Card.
at some point.
You're
anyways.
just, yeah, I don't know how to get you it. You know, I could waste time and put in the Mind Stone, which, you know, the Mind Stone is better. The Mind Stone is actually like better for green decks that can afford to dump the mana on it.
Yeah, I was going to say.
The Mind Stone is like white and reds. Oh, well, you know, you got to take what you can get. And like the more I play with it, the more I'm going like, I can't even support it.
No.
I don't have the mana to support this 7 mana to draw 1 on the first round.
Yeah.
Like over time you're getting at it, but it's 7 mana to draw 1 card, 9 mana to draw 2 cards.
Yeah.
Because you have to pay 5 to get it out. Like when does it start paying? When does the mana and the cards start paying back?
And savvy players that recognize their ability to have better card advantage will get rid of it so that they maintain their card advantage. And oftentimes it just gets blown up as a, I don't know, just side note.
Yeah,
it
gets eaten by a Vandal Blast or a Bane of Progress.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like the more I'm here, I'm and exploring this kind of thing, like things like Vance's Blasting Cannons, which is in this deck. It's 3 and a red.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of your upkeep. You can exile the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast that card this turn.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a land, it's gone. Sorry. You know, but if it's a non-land card, you can cast it.
But it gives you a little extra reach.
Well, yeah, and it's just like, so that was 4 mana to put it down. It does nothing the time it resolves, right? We got to go all around the table. My turn starts. I exile the top card and draw the one, you know, I untap, upkeep, draw. So I draw the one underneath.
Yeah.
So now I've seen 2 different cards now for a 4 mana barrier, where with Mind Stone, I have to resolve it, pass the turn, the opponent draws, I pay 2. So now I'm 7 mana to see 1 card and then eventually get the second card at my upkeep. So it's just the mana, the quality, like the card for mana barrier that I'm kind of trying to hit here. There was this, what is it, Outpost Siege that does the same thing. It has the same effect. It actually has that other side note of if you choose the other option, if a creature leaves play, your opponent loses life, or it damages target creature or player.
Oh,
there's that too.
Yeah.
So there's a couple ways you can go with win conditions in the deck. And again, like I'm going to say, like this is a replacement for a budget deck.
Yeah. So some of the things that would be obvious, maybe. Yeah.
According to my app, which uses like the TCG pricing engine, it's on the low of 58.34 is where it's showing.
Okay.
I have cards in here that probably shouldn't be on our list for our little thing that we're doing. Like Cage Sun is too expensive for our budget.
Oh, sure.
Our budget restrictions, but it would help you a lot.
Yeah, it would definitely help you.
Yeah, it would help you. It gives your creatures +1/+1, and it gives you double the mana. So it's great. Breath of Fury. So Breath of Fury is 2 red and a red. Enchant creature you control. When enchanted creature deals combat damage to a player, sacrifice it and attach Breath of Fury to a creature you control. If you do, untap all creatures you control. And after this phase, there's an additional combat phase. So these on-attack token generators.
Yeah, you have an infinite with that.
So as long as you can produce 2 tokens on an attack, you have infinite combat. So if you have something like Bedlam out, that's that. No one can block anyway.
Yeah.
Or you can just
keep going.
You can just be like, well, you'll win. You'll just be like, I'm going to exile all everybody's libraries because I guess technically that would happen first before I've done infinite damage if they're, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, depending on whatever comes
depending
first.
on how far we're in, like however you want to say it. Like I exile everyone's libraries or you're all at 0 health or however you want to word it. But, those things matter. How they lost is important when you record gameplay footage.
It's really weird. I mean, I lost to an infinite exile off the top of my library.
How did that happen? Yeah, it's like, well, let me walk you through this stupid ass way it happened. This convoluted deck that's probably not going to perform very well. So yeah, we'll find out Saturday. We'll get the recording.
Get some recording going.
And see how it goes. I feel like I don't know. It's got a lot of things I like. Like I've been a sucker for a long, like I've been telling you this lately. Like I'm a sucker for techie combat triggers like Grenzo's.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Kudu Mind Eater, like I fucking love that card.
Oh yeah.
You know, the mind, like I love it. I love Kudu Mind
You're
Eater.
you're like happiness levels increase when you cast the Kuro Mind Eater.
Yeah, because I'm just like, I don't even get to choose.
Guys, I was having a bad day, but I'm kind of happy right now.
Man, I can't help it. I love weird techie cards like Tetsuko or the Raven Guildmaster or like things like, you know, where I can get niche combat triggers for very low mana. You know, I don't know. Maybe that's like the tempo player in me where that kind of stuff adds up.
Yeah, it's true.
Where
And it's safe from some things because one of your cards that you like playing the most is Torpor Orb.
Oh,
And
yeah.
You know,
I didn't put Torpor Orb on this list
that
because
shuts down
there might
people's
be
ETBs.
right. There might be ETBs that you'd be interested in stealing. Like, let's say
Sure.
you see that Reclamation Sage, and you're like, yeah, I really need to get rid of that dude
But,
over there.
but you lean a lot more
propaganda.
towards combat triggers than enter the battlefield triggers as a player.
I think that just because, I think that's born from my penchant for red. I think is where that comes from.
Yeah.
But normally, like when I close out my deck list, like I kind of go over like, okay, here's some alternatives. So in the end, I ended up taking out the Pixis Pandemonium and the Ghoul Caller's Bell.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my thought is I don't value those cards
Interesting.
if I don't have the Lantern of Insight. So if I can't see what's at the top of their library anyway, like what am I really trying to do? Like, you know, I couldn't reliably get that effect into play every time with this deck.
That goes back to what I was saying earlier. It is on Lantern of Insight, which is just a colorless artifact, but oftentimes that effect is associated with something blue.
Yeah, like if they have a Future Sight or something, but that's not I love that card, but not a lot of people, I don't think, run it. But this kind of was the last thing I wanted to say. Like the Lantern of Insight thing, while it gives you information, it also gives your opponent information. And they might be more apt to block you if they see something very valuable in the top of their library that you're going for.
Oh, yeah.
Now, your deck might be in a configuration at that time where they won't have the option, or it'll be very costly, like with, you know, Heat Stroke. Like, are you really going to give up 2 creatures to protect this one card? That might be something to consider.
Sure.
The card I'm kind of on the fence about it because on one hand, Lantern of Insight allows you, when piloting this deck, where to expend your resources, meaning your mana, and more importantly, your combat step. Like, where is it going to go? Whose library do I want to hit? I don't want to be kind of like, since we're not going really deep, it's not like reveal 10 cards and I can cast those ones. Like, this is kind of why, like, it's still in the deck. If you went wide, I'd take it out. It's like, fuck it, just hit him with 5 goblins and get the top 5 cards. Like they didn't see those anyway. We're pedal to the metal, man. Like, you know. But with this deck, it's like I still left it in because I can think of I envision situations where you're so unsure about what's on the top of their library that you want to be able to see it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like just kind of in talking with you about it right now, I don't know if I want my opponent to know either because they're gonna behave in a way where they're trying to protect their library, and I don't want them to do it. I want them just to block. You know?
Sample 1 is our gameplay video with Circu, right? You were playing Niv Mizzet Perun, and
so much energy went into me trying to protect the top of my library.
Yeah, exactly. Like you did so much trying to keep things different, but by the same token, it also gave us, your opponents, a lot of
advantage.
Understanding of what you were doing too.
Yeah, it gives true. Yeah, I guess that is true. That's why it's in the list still. Like I hadn't really thought about that. Like you could spin it. Like I can't get over there and grab that spell, guys. I'm not going to be able to.
Somebody's got to be ready
to
do something about it.
Yeah, he's got, you know, like if you can see it's the last piece of their combo.
Yeah. Maybe
people are going to like give you a favor to go after and get it. Like I would like to think of this deck as a politically minded one. But at the same time, I can see where people are just going to get really annoyed that.
Yeah, people don't like the idea of you taking away their options.
Well, and the goad, man. Like the goad, that can have some feel bads, you know? Like, especially with commanders, they really don't want being threatened. Like, they really don't want to be attacked. Like,
sure.
Like Riku. Like, who wants to send Riku on an attack mission?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's just like, that's not what he's about. He's not about doing that. Who wants to send, you know, like, I don't know, like whatever plans they had for that creature, a lot of the time wasn't to attack, especially when you're dealing with I mean, yeah. Just
I'm not sending Cabal across the table.
Yeah, right.
Even though it's a 2/3, I'm like, no, not interested in going.
And either way, like the person that goaded that creature like gets advantage. Like either they block Cabal and he dies, so I vicariously killed him, or they don't block Cabal and my opponent's life total is now a little bit less. So yeah, I'm looking at, I don't know. There's just a lot to like about this list. I just have to temper my expectations as to what it's going to do. The late game is probably difficult to navigate with this deck. I really don't see it holding up against.
I feel like it's going to be a little bit like a Gonti type thing where it's like, did I stumble into something that helps me out?
See, but Gonti, what's great about Gonti, and this is just because I've been playing him for so long, like what I love about Gonti is that I have the option to deploy the cards at the time of my choosing.
True.
So I can hold that Krosan grip. I can hold that counter spell even. I can hold that expropriate where I'm sitting on your expropriate for the whole game and you don't know I have it.
Right.
And then when you go to tutor it, I fucking love that, where you're going to tutor something
and they can't find
and
it.
you look over at me and I'm grinning and you're like, you piece of shit. And now you know. And your play behavior from then on is like, okay, so now I know what he has. And now it just drives people nuts. Like Gonti just drives people crazy where they're like, what the fuck did you take? I've gotten text messages from people that I've hit with it. 10 seconds later, my phone goes off. What did you take? Like it, I just don't, I don't know. This is why which is also why I've never really gone ahead and built Grenzo, because I feel like there's
some overlap,
mechanical overlap a little bit, even though I don't know.
They're different, but they're like the feel. There's enough similarity.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was refusing to pilot it. You know, I'm not like I won't pilot it. It's just that I was trying to. Did you ever seen that anime? It's called Neon Genesis Evangelion. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Oh my god, dude! I don't know why. I'm gonna go on a tangent. We're almost done anyway. But like, dude, in this show, it's like it's a story about like it's like this post-apocalyptic kind of situation going on where like there's these entities, they call them angels, that are attacking like what's left of Japanese humanity, society, right?
Okay.
And there's, the protagonist is like this teenage, just this worm, dude. He's like this insufferable, like he's not like outwardly annoying as a character. It's just once you are done watching it, like when you reflect on it, you're like, why the fuck was he being such a freaking wuss about it? Like the whole thing. So there's these giant robots that they're not actually robots, like spoiler alert, but that's kind of how they're being sold at the beginning of the show. He like refuses to do anything like ever. Like you get halfway through the show and he's like, dude, we're facing extinction. Would you get in the
come on.
Yeah. Would you get in the damn thing and pilot it all right? Like, yeah. So this is me not making this deck isn't me being a Shinji. It's me just like, I mean, fucking AP stepping up. He's gonna take it.
Yeah, someone's gonna have that experience.
Yeah, he will pilot it. He will pilot it.
Well, I'm excited to see it, dude.
Yeah, stay tuned for that gameplay video. That's the only plug we'll do is plug our gameplay videos. Stay tuned for that.
Lebowski? Nobody calls me Lebowski. I'm the dude, man. And I really am a sucker for techie combat triggers. It's a problem. It really is. Well, we're almost done with 2018. We hope you really enjoyed our content this year. We're planning to do some self-reflective episodes next and maybe talk about what kind of things we want to see from 2019. The song you're listening to is by the ever-talented Home. It's called Come Back Down, and it's from his Odyssey album. Check him out. He is so very generous to let us use his music. Thanks again, everyone, for listening. It really means the world to me and Kyle. And all right, take care, and we'll see you again.